G'day and welcome to the Campfire Project. Today I'm here with Leanne Shelton, a Sydney girl all of her life. Leanne's career experience, it includes journalism, marketing, internal communication events, and business-to-business sales in corporate, government, and not-for-profit roles. Welcome to the Campfire Project, Leanne.
Thank you. Good to be here, Alan.
It's good to have you here. And I wanted to delve into, I know that for 15 years you've been writing editorials, and you started Right Time Marketing as a freelance copywriter in 2014. How did you get to doing that role? What's your story? Where did you start with all of this?
Yeah, so I studied creative writing at uni. I've always been a writer ever since I knew how to write, like punctuation. I still remember this little journal entry in like year one, and we learned about punctuation, and I just got it 100% right straight away. I just got it. And so that love for writing and just how it happened, it was just a natural skill for me. And I knew I wanted to do writing. I did well with 4-unit English in year 12. My cool, I want to get into creative writing and hopefully journalism. And that's where it all kind of really started. But I couldn't get, even though I did all this work experience in like journalism, like magazines and newspapers, I found it hard fresh out of uni to get a journalistic job. So I actually started in a telesales role for an online business directory. And I mean, those skills I learned then have really helped me today. Back then it was like, oh, I guess I'm kind of doing interviews like journalism every day on the phone. I'm talking to people. But yeah, and then from that I moved into, internal communications and marketing, and really developed that passion for marketing communications. There's events, there's PR, writing. I love there was a variety of stuff, because I kind of realized along the way in journalism, you write an article, pull the effort into it, spit it out, all right, move on to the next article. And I'm like, I think I'd actually get bored with that. I need more variety in my day. And so marketing communications, it was very different. Every day, no 2 days look the same. And ultimately I started my business because I returned to my job. I was working at a uni after going on maternity leave, and the pressure was on to kind of do full-time work, and the part-time hours I asked to return to. And while on maternity leave, I had been dabbling in little e-newsletters for a couple of sports organizations. And I'm like, I really enjoyed doing that. And if I can do more writing stuff. And so I started the business, but I wanted to I really wanted to branch out, but I couldn't. I had to leave the uni. The security of it was a bit scary. And so eventually I did leave. I found like a main contracting role, which was where I had the opportunity to do the writing, use the skills, as well as dabble with website copy and social media and all that kind of marketing related stuff. And it kind of just grew from there. And I was doing more website copy, and as I went along, I'm like, oh, I can write that, I can do that. And the sales experience came in handy, the marketing experience came in handy for all the writing stuff, because I wasn't just a copywriter who just take a brief and just make something look pretty. I could then go a holistic approach and go, how does it actually sit with the potential customers reading it? And is that the best marketing channel for it? Do you really need a flyer when your website looks dodgy? All that kind of thing. And then, and I guess since then I've now moved more into the marketing strategy stuff, because I've realized that's where a lot of people fall down. They can go, oh yeah, tick a box, get some blogs written, but they don't have the strategy to where it all fits in the overall goals in the business and all that. So now I help them out with that.
Brilliant. So with journalism, when did you get an interest in the journalism side of things?
I don't know where it really originated. I think because I started by writing short stories as a kid, and I loved that. I didn't like the detail of going to, describing a situation. I just want to get on with things. And I think maybe the year 10 work experience at a newspaper, and I was writing the articles, and it just came, I could just write it easily. And I think they were quite surprised at the paper how well I could just turn a media release into an article when I was in year 10. And I guess I probably opened my mind up to, and I read a lot of magazines, and I'm like, oh, how cool would it be if I could meet these famous people? I remember thinking I didn't want to be famous, but get into these famous people and really get into their head. And that's kind of where I started thinking I wanted to, and I'm like, well, you want to be a writer, you're either you're an author or a journalist. It's kind of all the options we were aware of back then. And now I'm like, oh, well, content marketing, it's writing, it's got the marketing comes all together. But I think that's where it kind of came from. I read a lot of magazines and I just loved them and thought, I love to say, put my name there and say, I did that.
Because, you know, I see the articles. I know that people put in their press releases and, you know, trying to promote what they're doing. There's a bit of a step between getting the press release out right, but then somebody turning that into a, how do we go about selecting which press releases are any good or not?
So the little formula with like press releases, and you have to really put the most powerful, compelling message at the top, because what happens with when the journalist gets it is to make their life easier, they pretty much don't want to change it too much. They just want to go, yep, here's a compelling thing, add a few details, maybe get on the phone, get some quotes, and done. So you don't want the media release to be nice and short, so that yeah, there is room for them to flesh it out, or if they've only got a tiny spot, they can squeeze it in. If not, otherwise miss out completely. And so for me, it was very easy turning a media release into an article. I'm like, all right, here's the main stuff. Here's the what, when, who, why, where kind of stuff. And then, but I love to get a quote to really get the human element. And that's where you go that next step. But yeah, you really need to pull them in with that first section, because as you get on, it's like less relevant. Just so it's if it is being published and there's only a little space, the most essential stuff goes in first, top part.
Yes, I know that if the headline doesn't grab them, they don't read like a newspaper article, for instance, they don't read the bolded sentence, and or bolded paragraph, and the bolded paragraph doesn't get their attention, they won't read the rest of it. So.
And it's the same for websites and blogs and all the rest of it. You've got to really get people's attention right at the beginning, because people are just going to skim read. And that's where, like with online stuff, got to have bold and dot points and a lot of white space to make it easy on the eye. So you got to be mindful that people just skim read and just look out for the parts that really interest them. So if you can put them at the top, they're more likely to read to the bottom.
Yeah, so it must be a bit of an art form to work out what will, people will catch people's attention, because it's a little bit like psychology. You've got to know what's going on in the public's head. So what sort of work did you do in that area? How did you come about being good at that side of it?
I don't know. I think I'm a deep thinker, and I like to ask people the big questions, I guess, and I'm not just talking about how's your day. I like to really get into it a bit deeper. But I think this is where having a niche it really helps out businesses, because if you do have certain people you talk to and you talk to them all the time, it then helps you with your messaging and getting the right message to those people. When you are very generalist and say, oh yeah, I help everyone, that's where it makes it hard to get that message right. You want basically people going, I love hypothetical questions. Have you felt this? What about this and that? If people aren't nodding along going, oh my gosh, it's like, you know me, are you like outside my window right now? That's ultimately what you want people to think. And then they're like, you have my attention, you get my pain point. How do you solve it? And so if you are going, oh, I help men, women, and kids, and from all backgrounds, and there's no way you can get that message right and concise enough for them to go, yes, you get me, because there's no way that you can clump them all together.
Yeah, so a lot of us work in areas where we do cover a broad spectrum, and then being able to get that out, it's really, we've got to narrow our area down to the one that we think is the most interesting, or was going to connect to the best audience for us. And then I'll put that forward.
Yeah.
So how do you work with people when they come and see you?
So it depends on what they're after. So I'm quite flexible because I know everyone works in different ways. So if they're after a copywriting job, say blogs, for example, I'd say to them, okay, there's different ways I can do this for you, like write the blogs. You can just give me dot points with here's an angle, here are a couple of links of like reliable resources I can refer to. And that might be what you do with your briefing. Or it could be, I have all the ideas, I can just like snatch out a whole bunch of stuff. Can I then hand it over to you, Leanne, and you structure it? I've had that as well. And I've had also people go, can we just line up a little Zoom chat or a phone call and you just type out my note, like I just lay it all out there and you just type down what I say because it's in my head. Once I start typing, I get blocks and I'm like, yeah, okay. So I work with people different ways in that way. And I guess it works the same with websites, with any of the copy. If it is more of the strategy side, I really like, I have like a brief one. I use a project brief for both of them, but the brief is really important for me, really understanding their audience and where they're at, where they want to be. And then, okay, we'll chat through that. What marketing platforms do you want to use? What are you going to be doing all this work? Do you need to outsource it? And then I put to that plan and map it all out for them, and they then know what direction they need to take. And then it's from there, it's like I made a mistake before. I give them the strategy and go, here you go. And not everyone's good at implementing it. And so sometimes you just sit there on the shelf, like hypothetical shelf, getting dusty, right? But other people would take action. So now I'm starting to introduce implementation strategies, whether it is accountability training calls or you just want me to do it and just get it done. So I'm very flexible with how I work with people because I know everyone's got different time constraints or skill levels or I'm quite flexible with that.
Yeah, so is that something that you're asking them to give you information on that, or are you trying to read them as well?
I get a feel for, because I niche in the health and wellness space, and so I do, like for a lot of people, kind of get where they're at. And I love doing I've read a lot of books on mindset and positive thinking and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I can see there's barriers, there's like confidence or like a courage to be more visible or to get a certain message out. And so sometimes I naturally help them out with that side of things as well. I've been through that journey. I had low self-esteem as a kid. I've come on the other side. And so sometimes it's a matter of going, you are valuable. You do have something great to say. If you've got your target audience and you've got your message right, they're going to want to hear what you have to say. So don't hold back. And so it's a bit of, I kind of work through that with them, and I don't try to read their mind. I prompt them with things. But quite often the words overwhelmed come up a lot, or or don't have the time come up a lot. All right, well, let's help you cut it down, or I can just do it for you. And then you can focus on your zone of genius and this is all being done in the background.
Yeah, and as you say, the stories are really important because, as they say, nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. So understanding what they're trying to do, where they're trying to connect with people. So that's a bit of a gift on it in its own as well, because a lot of people talk about it, but very few people actually seem to do it. I think they say it's about, from the time you start talking, the average is about 19 seconds before people start giving you advice on what you should be doing. And it's quite ridiculous because you don't get the chance to find out anything in that short period of time. So is it something that you were naturally gifted at doing, being able to actively listen in that way and guide people through? Or
I think so. Like over the years, I've done a lot of interviewing. Like I've done a TV presenting course, and I've done a bit of a PR course and a radio interviewing course, and with the journalism, and so I'm like talking to people and really, going into their stories. I've become better, especially with my podcast I've had for a year now, and I've been doing it weekly, having these kinds of chats and going, well, hang on, and tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Not just discussing the weather or the kids or whatever. And so I think and people have said to me, you interview really well. I think my dad's really good at it. He can actually start a conversation with someone working at a checkout and end up walking away going, oh, I used to teach their sister at school, or their or were related to someone. I'm like, how do you even do that? Like, my dad is like the genius when it comes to really, really connecting with people. I try to emulate him a bit, but I think because it's just like, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Like, it worst case scenario, they say, I'm not comfortable answering it, but I've never really had that. People often, they love that you care to ask the deeper stuff. And that's, yeah, the D&Ms don't happen as easy, I think, as I think we had this prior conversation. Social media, you know, it's a lot surface level. His photos of me, he's a show reel. I think a lot of people have forgotten how to have the deeper conversations with people, but I still thrive on them.
Yeah, because that's why I was always curious about, you know, the backstories and the further back, you know, because as I say, it's in the first 7 years of our life that most of the imprinting is done. And so the people we have around us, our parents and family members, neighbours and that sort of thing. So always interested in where, when somebody's got a bit of a gift, you know, where it originally started. So as it said, you're saying it sounds like your dad had a major part in that.
I think so. And look, I'm just look, because we installed a street library at our house this week, because it's very exciting. And my hubby just put the camera onto my eldest daughter, who's 7, going, tell us about the street library. And I thought, oh, she doesn't have any preparation. She's just naturally talked about what it does. And I had this flashback of me as a kid. Anytime we went on holidays, my dad would do that, put the camera onto me. Where are we, Leanne? And I would just go, oh, and then I'd just go into where we are. And it was a flashback. So I guess I do see a lot of my daughter in me. But yeah, so I don't know, maybe it was because I was given that confidence. He said, I trust you to share our story where we are right now. It was never my younger brother or sister. It was always, where are we, Leanne? You know, you tell the story. And so maybe trusting in me to get the message out. And I guess that's probably now come through. I was then a confident debater at school, and then did these TV presenting, radio interviewing stuff. Now a podcast, can confidently present in front of a crowd. I have no fear of talking in front of crowds. It may have come down to my early days of him going, you're a good speaker, I'm going to entrust you for all our family videos, holiday videos, and my dad always got the camera out, or birthday parties. And it's like, okay, I'm responsible for talking about this. So
yeah, I love that. You look back far enough and you see how things have progressed through. I think half the time we think, oh yes, I designed my future, and it's like, no, the universe designed the direction for me, and it's just that I followed where it was taking me.
yeah, well, I mean, the writing thing, you know, I was told that, oh, you're really good at this, got, you know, lots of stars and stickers and those early books. I'm like, okay, I'm good at this. I'm getting A's, I'm getting top of the class in this. I got, you know, first in English in year 10. I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right, you know, and I enjoy it. And I've always had this thing where I've heard stories, you can see movies and read books of people who really they were drawn towards something, they did something else and they're unsatisfied. And I'm like, that's not going to be me. I know I love writing. I know I'm a people person. I need to embrace this and do something with that. And I've had that a mantra for ages. I want to love the work that I do. So I'm not, you know, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I'm like, I said it to my husband once, that's what I want to do. He goes, oh yeah, that's what everyone says. And I go, but ultimately that's what I want. And I took a couple of weeks off over the Christmas New Year break for my business, going up, not doing anything. And I actually felt lost, because I get so much joy from what I do that this whole part of me was like taken out by going, I'm being forced to relax and just be a mum and housewife, which I've never identified with. I'm like, I want to do all of it. So it was funny how I felt this sense of self was taken from me. I have to, I love it so much. I don't feel like it's work. And I want to keep on going.
So refreshing to hear that, because I keep getting people telling me that, you know, I need to take some time out and everything else. And I go, don't you like me? It's like, I love what I do, and you're telling me not to do it. Don't you like me anymore?
Yeah, I was actually feeling really depressed and couldn't quite pinpoint why. And it was because I had this element of myself kind of taken away, because I'm not very good at relaxing. I think that does also come down from my childhood, where Mum would wake us up early. There's no such thing as sleep in our house, and Dad wouldn't be able to hang around the house very long. Like, we'd always have to get out. And so I'm like that too. So when I have to be given permission to stop and relax. And so basically I was like, oh, I'll be at home and relaxing for 2 weeks, but I'll declutter the house. Like, I still have plans. And so when my hubby's like, oh, this week do absolutely nothing. And I'm like, oh, I read, I watched Netflix. By the end of it, I was moody. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I just did a little bit of admin in my business, a little bit of this. And that was just enough. Just go, oh, that soothed me.
Yeah, it's like I can't take a full break from what I do. I can do a little bit, go away, do something else, and come back and do a little bit more. As long as I'm able to do a little bit when I want to do it, I feel fine. But when somebody says, no, get away from everything and get out, and I go, I'm just there twiddling the thumbs going, what do I do now?
Yeah. Well, I remember this weird feeling. I was on holiday once and I was like, what is this? I think I'm relaxed, like completely relaxed. But then I was still like, all right, I can't wait to get back into the work again, because I've had my break. Yep, cool. Now, like, I want to get back into it. Yeah. So I know not everyone feels that way about what they do, but then you got to question, should you make changes in your life? Maybe. Like, I've, the whole life's too short. I'm like, I want to be enjoying what I do, no regrets. And I'm very blessed in where I've gone in my life. Things are very good in my world. And even when I have challenges, I know that I'll work through them, because in the past, I worked through those challenges. Yes, I'll work through these ones as well. So just keep on going.
Yeah, I think when you're truly aligned to your purpose and you really love what you do, it's just something you naturally do, and it's the time just flows along and you feel great about it. I think some of the people who don't understand that probably just aren't aligned to their true values. They're not living their purpose. They're living something close to it, but not right there yet.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's something I see a lot with like mums who go to work, and they're just looking. The main like reason they're going to work is obviously to bring money in and have flexibility around their kids. And so they hate the work they do. I know so many fellow like school mums and stuff, they hate the work they do, but it has the flexibility, which is what they need to do school pickups or whatever. And I'm like, surely there's more jobs out there that, and I think, companies and organizations are getting better at this, have that flexibility, but I'm like, surely there's jobs out there that you would love, you'd still have that flexibility. You don't have to like pick either a job you have to work full-time really late and love, or something you really hate and have the flexibility that you want, you desire. And that's part of the reasons why I started my business. I'm like, well, at the time I had one daughter, now I've got two, they're 7 and 4. My mum was a stay-at-home mum. I know from COVID, I could not be a stay-at-home mum. I would go nuts. But mum was a stay-at-home mum, and then she would come, she was involved with the school, with the canteen, with banking. She'd come to every like Easter hat parade and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I want to be involved like that, but also work. So the business was kind of a solution to that. I can set my own hours and then make it work. And I joined the P&C, and I'm like, well, so I'm the secretary in the P&C. I was a kindy mum and I was on the P&C. Like, well, this is one of the reasons I have a business, so I can do this type of thing. And, my daughter was so excited to see me around the school, doing secondhand uniform stores, lolly stalls. And I'm like, yes, this is what I want. This is the balance that I've been looking for. So I'm pretty happy with the work-life balance. My youngest is in preschool and she's there 3 days and has grandparents the other 2 days. I spend really good quality time with them on the weekend, and the evenings bonding, and the mornings we're bonding. So I have no sense of guilt. And I'm like, because I'm satisfying my own needs too with having a business. That I was having a day off with her, and I just realized I was just snapping at her, getting irritable, because I just would cram all these, actions and errands into that day, because it was a day off, but with her. And it was just like, is this worth it? I'm better off working that day, not having a long weekend every week and playing catch up, and really enjoying my weekend with my daughters, So one of those realizations I had to have. But
yeah, really to say, like, yeah, you can make your job, even though you can turn it into something that's all there is. But then you have no time for yourself and other things. I know people use the word balance. I've always struggled with balance because I always saw balance as being, that's balance. There's no movement.
There's always at some
Life,
point,
there's
yeah.
always going to be change. So I like to look at it as being a flow. Again, it's just semantics of words that we use, but it's the way my head works. And I realise that sometimes you put more into this, and then other times you're able to put more over there. And it's how they integrate and work together that allows you then to be able to, okay, I need to put some more time over here, but that doesn't suffer when you come away from it a little bit and having that connection. So that's an important part of it. But I know a lot of, as you mentioned before, there's a lot of people who are doing work that they hate to do. Like, yes, I've got some independence, I'm, bringing some money in, etc., but I hate what I'm doing. It's important to be able to find, even if you're working, something you like doing, because we've all got personalities and we've all got personality traits that have upsides and downsides. The upsides are where we're happy, where we're good at things. The downsides are where we're not so good. And at school, they were called our weaknesses, and they're the ones that we did extra work to improve. Why do you want to improve your weaknesses? Let's just increase our strengths and get somebody else to do the work where we're weak, and so we have a team.
Yeah, I'd say with numbers. I'm not a numbers person, so I'm like, yep, get a bookkeeper. Yep, you manage that. I don't want to even. Once someone starts talking figures with me, I'm like, my eyes just glaze over, my brain just like freezes. I'm like, I can't, I can't take that in. But if they're talking marketing, business related, I'm like, oh, yep, you're talking my language. Yep, I get this. Just don't do numbers with me. Unless you're really breaking it down.
That's it. So it's, finding that, but, if people are looking for, well, how do I find a great career? I profile people now, but before that, when I was working with people, I'd say, well, just stop and think about the things that you love to do. And when you're doing those things, what's going on? And people would say, oh, well, I like, going out. I go, well, going out with who? What things are you doing then? And as soon you find the where your strengths are, and you go, okay, what careers, what jobs can I be doing where I'm doing those sort of things and feeling that way? Then you find a job that you've got your independence, you're able to have that time away from the family, time to have on your own, etc. Time to work. So it's got to be their time, my time, our time. And if you're able to be doing things in all of those that you love doing, now you're really on target where, energy is always going to be up.
Yeah. And you spend so much time working. Like, why do you want to be sticking with something you really don't enjoy and you're just dragging yourself out of bed in the morning? Like, I mean, I've always been a morning person anyway, but I have had jobs where it's like, okay, and I have to go walk to the bus stop and then commute, and oh, are they going to be in a good mood or a bad mood today? It's just not worth it. The energy just drains from you. Whereas I'm like, what's my calendar today? Oh, cool, that's cool. Oh, yes, and that. Yeah, I'm excited about the day ahead, and I like to plan out my week in my Google Calendar or 2 weeks ahead. So I get excited by seeing what's ahead of me, and I wouldn't want to go back to that feeling of, oh, it's Mondayitis. I don't get that anymore. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm refreshed. I have my weekend off. I'm ready to get back into it.
Yeah, Mondayitis, that disease that hits everybody on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And then when you get past Monday, then you got hump day, Wednesday, but at least now you're on the downside of it. Yeah. And we're looking forward to Friday. And then we've got, start getting, returning back into, oh my God, Mondayitis is coming up again. So, if you're doing the things in your work, in your personal life and everything else that you love to do, then every day is the same, and every day is an enjoyable one. Happy to get up in the morning and looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I think that's always a test I say to people. If you don't wake up looking forward to what you're going to be doing that day, then you're doing the wrong thing.
Pretty much.
And that's why it's important to find your specialty and get the other people around you who can do the other side of it. I know that, I'm in my technical head if I'm writing a course or I'm, putting it up on a website or whatever, I've got to remember that I've got to think of it from the other person's point of view, who's going to be reading this. And so with that, if that's not my forte, then I go, okay, I've looked at it, I've tried it, it's not for me, I'll get someone else to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Or like with my podcast, the very first episode, I'm like, all right, I'm going to try and edit this. And I realized I was just spending way too much time just fiddling around with it. I'm like, that's it. No, I'm outsourcing this. and I just know it's being done. They let me know when it's ready. Good. I'll upload it. Great. I'm less and less headspace to things that I'm not good at, or I just don't have the time to do. So like I've got a part-time VA now I've had for a few months, and she does all the marketing stuff that I don't have the time to do. And it just takes away all those little thoughts of going, oh, I really got to get onto that. Oh, I really got to get onto that, because I can send a quick message and she'll get onto it. So that's just all that clutter that gets in your brain. And I've even, like, just talking about clutter, like sometimes just drive around without the radio, just silence, because my brain is always giving me new ideas and things I have to do. And I'm like, I don't want to have extra noise in my head from a radio or podcast. Sometimes I just need pure silence, just breathe and sort through what's already in there.
Yeah, well, as I say, in that we only handle about 7 items plus or minus 2 at any given time. So always people go, what are you talking about? I say, well, you're driving down the road, you got the radio playing, the windows down, you got the breeze and everything else, you're looking at everything, and you're looking for a particular place, and you drive into the street. Now you got to look for the number. What's the first thing you do? Turn the radio off. What's that got to do with it? It's your ears, not your eyes.
Yeah. I said to my kids, like, just stop talking. I'm reversing the car out of this tight spot. Like, I just need to really, because I have scraped the car occasionally. Not lately, thankfully.
It shows how our heads can get so caught up in stuff, and we think, what's all that about? So So where to for as you said, you went from the journalism, you moved through different areas, and with the copywriting and everything else. Where do you see your future going from here?
I have plans. I've decided I want to build an agency, and with a team, a physical team. I was originally thinking, I just be me doing stuff, and then maybe have an assistant or something. But I had this vision for like a co-working space. There's a little commercial cottage up the road from me, and I had this vision of turning into a co-working space, like the home away from home, rather than a corporate kind of feel, or I know some cool spaces out there, but more like a homely kind of feel. And I did some research. Long story short, the place would need tens of thousands of dollars worth of work before I could even think about using it for that. But I had some people ask me, like, why were you so into this idea? And I think it was because I wanted to have people around me, because I was going to obviously work there as well. And so I'm like, I have a home office. I do have a virtual office as well, where I can have meetings and things about 10 minutes down the road. But I think ultimately I miss having people around me. And I do my networking, and I'm always doing, interviews and chats or whatever. But I think I do want to have people around me and have that full marketing kind of agency, where it's like can do the copywriting, the content marketing. Someone does the SEO. I have a graphic designer on hand. I've got, someone else who can handle all, like, every element to do with marketing. And and that's, so I'm basically starting to move towards that. All right, well, I'll cast my net quite wide, and then if I can't handle the workload, allocate it to people who, it may be remotely initially, but then eventually build up to having a physical person by my side, then 2, then 3. So I'm starting to think a little bit bigger and work on that. So it really, just being able to say I want to build a physical team meant that I could say yes to more work and not think I have to hold myself back from what I could physically do. So I'm pretty excited to see where that goes. I'm getting a new business coach on board and have a mentor and a couple of people I can bounce ideas around with fairly regularly. So we'll see how it all goes. I have within a year, I'd like to kind of be well on the track to have 1 or 2 people joining me. I don't know how realistic that is, but at least be on the track for it.
Excellent. So how do people find you?
So LinkedIn is a good place. I'm fairly frequently on that, a couple of times a day usually. There's a post for me. Or my website, righttimemarketing.com.au. And then of course it's my podcast, which is called Marketing and Me, and predominantly aimed at health and wellness business owners who want to grow their business but maintain their own health and wellness at the same time. So it's a mixture of the marketing, business related, and the health stuff as well. So that's probably the 3 main things: LinkedIn, website, and podcast.
Okay. With the podcast, do you have regular guests on there?
Yes. So, well, I not regulars, like I only had them one at a time, but yeah, pretty much the majority are guests, and then I have a solo once a month thereabouts. And I've just through networking, I have an endless supply of guests. I'm pretty much booked up to like May now, I think. We're in January. So there's a high demand. I've got some great people coming on the show. It's all very, very fun. I call it, I say it's a win-win-win. Like I win because I get to pick their brain for an hour or so and I learn from them. It's a win for them because it's a great resource that they can then, as a marketing tool, they can then spread and build a know, like, and trust factor. And also the audience benefits from, the information too. So I'm absolutely loving it.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of good, that's the reason I asked that, because I know you and I are doing one later on anyway.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great people in the group here that would probably have some really great stories as well. So for those people who are watching this, get in touch with Leanne and have a chat with her.
Yeah, definitely. I'm open to it. I just usually have a quick 15-minute chat just to discuss your background and what kind of angle you're thinking, make sure it doesn't clash or haven't done that angle before or take a different take on it. But yeah, I'm definitely open to guests. Yes, it will be booked fairly far in advance, but you pencil it in and if things change, we can change it. But yeah, I'll have you.
This goes to show that it's popular because I know I'm booked in somewhere in the back of April, I think it is.
Yeah.
You are very busy, which is great. So, and that's just a testament to the work that you're doing to attract people as you do. So thanks very much for sharing your story with us and what you're doing today.
Thank you very much.
That people are telling their personal stories. They're talking about what they're doing as well. And there's so much wealth within the group. It gives everybody a chance to meet people more effectively.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I said the podcast is so good. For anyone, if you are thinking of starting one, it really just, people can really relate to you. I personally have signed up to business coaches from listening to their podcast, just because I'm like, I get this person, they get me, we're in the same kind of wavelength. And so that kind of thing, or obviously videos, any kind of thing where your voice and your real personality comes out. It's so effective for connecting, and I'm all about connections first, customer second. So very important.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, again, thanks very much. And to everybody who's been listening in, thank you. And we'll see you on the next Campfire. Bye for now.